Hello, ladies and gentlemen, students and faculty. I appreciate your president having made me an honorary visiting professor, and I will assure you that my first lecture will be very brief. I am delighted to be here, and I'm particularly delighted to be here on this occasion. We meet at a college noted for knowledge, in a city noted for progress, and a state noted for strength, and we stand in need of all three, for we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, and an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution, first waves of modern invention, and first waves of nuclear power. And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it. We have vowed that we shall not see it called by a hostile flag, for the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. We have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. Yet the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we are the first, and therefore we intend to be the first. In short, our leadership in science and in industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, require that we make this effort, that we solve these mysteries, solve them for the good of all men, and become the world's leading spacefaring nation. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to measure and organize the best of our energies and skills. That is a challenge we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and others too. It is for these reasons that I regard the decision last year to shift the efforts in place from low to high gear as one of the most important decisions made during the incumbency of the office of the President. Transit satellites are helping ships at sea to steer a safer course. Hero satellites are giving unprecedented warnings of storms and hurricanes, and will do the same for forest fires and icebergs. And finally, the space effort itself, while still in its infancy, has already created a great number of new companies and tens of thousands of new jobs. What was once the furthest outpost on the old frontier of the West is now the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. Houston, the city of Houston, with its manned spacecraft center, will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. To be sure, all this costs us a good deal of money. Our space budget is 3 times what it was in January 1961 and is greater than the space budget of all of the previous 8 years combined. But we have given this program a high national priority, even though I realize this is in some measure an act of faith and vision, for we do not know which benefits await us. But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 24,000 miles away from the control station in Houston on a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of a football field, made of new metal alloys, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, communications control, and food and survival, and an untried mission to an unknown celestial body. I am delighted that the United States is playing a part in putting a man on the moon, part of the great effort of the United States of America. Many years ago, the British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked, why did he want to climb it? And so he answered, because it is there. Well, space there, and so is the moon, and the planets are there, and our hope for knowledge and peace is there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure that mankind has ever embarked. Thank you.